All right, in three, two, one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Different No Less, brought to you by Team STEM at University of Texas of El Paso. We are 4 rehabilitation majors that are focused in physical therapy, 2 in occupational therapy, and today we'll be diving into Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD. We'll talk about what autism is and how it affects kids from 5 to 14, and how future therapists can help understand accessibility and inclusive schools and communities with the help of my teammates today. My name is Kai. I'm a PT major.
My name is Andrew. I am also a PT major.
My name is Gavi. I'm an OT major.
And I'm Sam, and I'm also an OT.
All right, so let's get this started, guys. So Kai, what exactly is autism, and why do we call it spectrum?
So, autism spectrum disorder is a developmental condition that affects communication, social interaction, and sensory processes. It's called spectrum because everyone's experience is different, and some kids need daily support while others need total independence. But it still processes in unique ways and varies for a poorer person.
Right. So there's not a single autistic type. Some children struggle with language, others struggle with social cues or sensory overstimulation. Each person has their own mix of strengths and challenges.
Awareness matters because it's really about understanding each person and giving them the support that they need to thrive. It's not about changing them, it's about helping them shine in their own way.
Interesting. So let's change it up. Communications differences are often one of the first things some people notice. Sam, what does that look like?
So a common trait is scripting. So, for example, Andrew, do you have a favorite movie?
Yes, Toy Story.
Toy Story? Is there a line that you remember?
Yeah, when Woody's like, "There's a snake in my boot."
So with people who are on the spectrum, they might use that line, "There's a snake in my boot," to express a certain emotion. So whether that's anger, happiness, or anything, it's very unique to them. And usually parents and educators are able to decipher what that means. So it might not mean that they're happy, but they might mean that they might be sad.
Some self-soothing behaviors like rocking, tapping, or hand flapping help autistic kids manage stress and sensory overload. They're healthy coping strategies, not something to punish.
Right, so when I showed up PT for border therapy service, I saw small sensory adjustments like giving a child a figment toy or letting them take a short movement breaks. A lot of border therapies, what we have are like digits, so when like typing or anything. We also play with putty. A lot of that has to do with sensory and can reduce stress and improve the overall focus of our patients.
Oh, that's pretty great. I didn't know that. Let's switch it up. So Sam, let's picture walking into a grocery store. There's a lot of lights, loud music, tons of noise. Mm-hmm. For many kids on the spectrum, can that be overstimulating?
That can be very overstimulating. So whether it's the lights, the music, or just a bunch of background noise, when many senses are triggered at once, the brain can't filter it all. So that's why you might see covering of ears, crying, or even like
total meltdowns.
Meltdowns. It's not a misbehavior, it's more like a stress response.
Interesting.
In occupational therapy, we focus a lot on modifying the environment to help kids feel more comfortable and succeed. Simple changes like softer lighting, quieter rooms or visual schedules, or organized workspaces can make spaces feel calmer and more predictable.
For PT side, although we are more physical, we most can see as a therapeutic, which meaning it's more deep pressured activities, swinging or climbing, all which help regulate sensory system and building overall body awareness.
Interesting. So let's move on into daily life skills. Stuff like getting dressed, brushing your teeth, and even handling group activities.
So that's called activities of daily living, or ADLs, between PTs and OTs. Kids with autism might need a step-by-step visuals or even extra time than we would need to master these types of skills. In OT, we teach independence through practice and repetition. So this is not necessarily doing it for them, we're doing it with them.
Social communication can also be very tough. Reading facial expressions or understanding sarcasm doesn't come naturally to everyone. We can model and teach those skills through games and peer interaction instead of lectures.
For future PTs, we might focus more on motor coordination or balance or posture. For me especially, I find myself like with my posture kind of being low. I don't have great posture, so I have to remind myself, or what we call board therapy cueing. So we have to cue myself to stand up tall. I see this with a lot of my patients, and especially my autistic patients, where there was a lot of cueing, keeping them on task and keeping them engaged with refocusing their attention and kind of over helping their technique and strategies.
Interesting. I want to ask you, since you do work as a technician in board therapy services, kind of like mixing these two to both. Like, let's say like one of your patients is just not having a good day. How do you interact with that and fixing their cueing, even though they might be, I wouldn't say stubborn, but they just don't want to do it on that particular day?
So especially for autistic individuals, they're going to have a meltdown. So it's not so much as keeping their revisiting the issue at hand. You want to go ahead and make them feel valid about it, but you want to try to steer their attention away, redirect their attention towards the exercise. When we're in our clinic, we're away from our problems. We're leaving everything outside. We're coming in, we're making a safe environment for them so they feel safe and they feel better about it. That way we can work on our exercises that we need to improve our daily life.
That's amazing.
And functioning.
Great. That actually leads to our next subject, into support. So Kai, when people talk about levels of support, what does that mean?
So it's the amount of assistance someone needs in functioning daily. Some kids need structural routines, others need one-on-one help and safety and communication. So it varies person to person. It can really just depend on what they really need, especially for these kids.
Mm-hmm. So the key to this is collaboration. So whether this is teachers, parents, OTs, and PTs, working together, and this consistency between that can help between home and school settings.
And most importantly, we can't forget about the child's voice in all of this, listening to their perspective, what helps, what feels overwhelming, and how they prefer to communicate allows us to create goals to truly fulfill their needs. When we include the child in the process, we're not just supporting them, we're empowering them to take part in their own growth.
Like you said, it's not just supporting, but also breaking down stereotypes. Kai, what's one stereotype about autism that needs to go away?
So I'm sure everyone's heard that from my kid's autistic. They're very smart, they're very genius, or they're very, slow. This is not true. Everyone's different, everyone's indifferent. That goes in for autistic people too. No one is exact way. Just because you're autistic does not mean you're different. It varies to person abilities and then personalities too.
Right. Another stereotype is that autistic people may lack emotion or even empathy. In reality, they feel emotions just as we do, maybe even deeper than we do, and they just express them differently than we do.
Representation truly matters. Hearing directly from autistic individuals, like through the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, helps us understand autism authentically and move beyond stereotypes.
Amazing. So once we break those stereotypes, let's talk about transitions. Not just transitions in life, but transitions from elementary school to middle school, and then middle school to high school. How does that work?
So those are pretty big changes. For people who are not on the spectrum, that can be a big change. I can only imagine for someone who is on the spectrum. So autistic students may need preparation for this, such as visual planners, routine practices, or even social stories to explain what's coming next for them.
In occupational therapy, we actually call this transition planning. It helps kids build life skills early so they're ready for new environments later, like moving to a bigger school or eventually starting a job.
So for the role of a BCBA is a board-certified behavioral analysis. These play a crucial role, an important role in supporting students with autism. This is directly towards the kids with autism. I know this because my mother is currently getting her certification in BCBA, and I'm hoping she does.
Yeah.
But what they do, they're trained applied behavioral analysis, APA, which is focused on understanding and why behaviors happen, and teaching skills that help students learn, communicate, and participate more and successful in school and overall living. For example, if a student becomes frustrated and acts during transitions, a BCA might design a virtual student or teach them request break opportunities that will help the child to make sense of classrooms smoother and everyone. A BCA's main goal is to increase independence and learning. This is not to eliminate behaviors with autism. Unfortunately, that is not possible. It is not so much a thing we can eliminate. It's about making positive ones that serve a purpose that will also help educate and understand behaviors in a form of communication, ensuring students' needs are being met and most supportive in ways. On the side note, from a PT's perspective, we again help with more physical coordination. So this will be navigating new spaces, carrying backpacks, or joining sports. Small victories do lead to independence.
Amazing stuff right there. All right, Team STEM, final thoughts. What's one thing you want our listeners to remember?
So autism isn't a flaw. They are not indifferent. They're exactly the same way. They just are experiencing it in a different way.
Key and patience can really create inclusion for them, and it's one of the best keys to have.
Focus on supporting independence, not forcing conformity, and celebrate progress in all its forms.
These are amazing points, but for me, differences make a community stronger. And when we design spaces for everyone, I believe everyone wins. Thanks for listening to Different Not Less, a podcast by Team STEM for UTEP Rehab Science students committed to build awareness, respect, and inclusion for people in the autism spectrum. Until then, see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Bye.